Welcome to Is This a Great Game or What? And our very special guest today is Tony Gwynn Jr., former Major League player, great broadcaster who does the Padres games, and of course, the son of Hall of Famer Tony Gwynn. Great to have you, Tony. This is my son, Jeff.
Jeff, how are you? Nice to meet you. Tim, as always, good to see you. I just saw you not that long ago, obviously, with the last series here in San Diego, and happy to be here with you guys today.
Listen, Tony, obviously we're going to take some time to talk about your dad, but we want to talk about you as well. But I have to point out the obvious. My dad and I started this podcast last year, and the number one comment we get every single time, whether it's a clip on Instagram or a new release of an episode, is, my gosh, Jeff Kirkshin, you sound exactly like your dad. And you, Tony, I know you get it all the time, but I can relate. You sound exactly like your father.
You know what's funny, Jeff, is I resisted saying that when I popped on because I know how much I hear it, and so it's quite hilarious that here you are telling me the same thing that I was thinking when I popped up on here. But yes, I hear it pretty much once a day. As God made it, our voices end up sounding almost identical, and this goes back to high school. You know, I had friends or people calling over and asking, just assuming that my dad was me. And I stood next to him when it's happened a few times, and he would be like, "Oh, I think you want little Tony," and so then he handed me the phone. And so that's how. So I can relate. Once again, Jeff, I can relate.
Tony, there was never an embarrassing moment, was there, when somebody was calling for you and your dad picked up?
Yeah, no, there was a few of those. There was a few of those moments where my dad's eyes almost like bulged out of his head, and he's like, "Yeah, no, I definitely think you want to talk to my son." So yeah, no, there was a few of those for sure.
Right. Tony, how else are you just like your dad beyond your voice? Is there a personality trait? Is there something else about you that you look at once in a while and go, boy, I'm just like my dad?
No, there's quite a bit. I hear that from my mom often. I think we both are homebodies. We both enjoy spending whatever time we're not working with our families. And I think probably the thing that resonates with the people outside of my family is we both really love sports. Like obviously baseball was our sport, but my dad was a sportsman. Like he enjoyed all sports. And I'm pretty much identical to that.
Right. Tony, your dad, as we know, was a great basketball player. I should know this. Were you a really good player also? Did you play one-on-one in the driveway with him?
Oh, yeah, for sure. I don't know that I was good as him. I mean, my dad ultimately was drafted, by an NBA team. I didn't make it beyond high school.
Right.
So, I think there's a definite distinction there, but I could definitely play. I think I had an opportunity to walk on at San Diego State, but at that point, I think focusing on baseball was the obvious choice, and I kind of had a chip on my shoulder by the time I got to college. I thought I, was a better player than where I was drafted in high school, and so I made a decision, my senior year that I was going to put the basketball down in terms of trying to pursue it. I still love to play to this day, but baseball was the thing that was at the forefront.
Tony, when's the last time you dunked it?
Oh man, I'm 42 now. Probably around 12 years ago was probably the last time I could dunk a basketball consistently.
Right.
Those days are unfortunately long gone now.
I've told Jeff Kirkshin a million times that Tony Gwynn had the smallest hands of any great hitter I've ever seen. I should know this because I've shook your hand 1,000 times. Your hands are bigger than his, right? You can palm a basketball,
No,
right?
Absolutely not. I also got that genetic trait from him as well. It's not. big hand certainly isn't the thing that the Gwynn family is known for.
Tony, I always say this to, I have to just say, as two broadcasters, father, son here, it's just
Yeah.
not fair to be as good of a broadcaster as you are and be as good of an athlete as you were and continue to be. This is for the nerds, Tony, for the guys who couldn't make it in the game. You can't be this good and be as good of a player as you were. It's not fair to us.
See, little do you know, Jeff, is that I am also a nerd as well. So, ultimately, yeah, I get your point, but I mean, baseball has just been something that I have been fortunate enough to be around very intelligent minds starting at a really young age. And what I can tell you is it rubs off. You start to understand the game in a way that, perhaps you would never learn if you're not in that environment as often as I was growing up. And then having the ability to actually play it at a high level was obviously the best class you could ever be in, and being in those locker rooms. And in terms of the broadcasting side, that has come naturally. Honestly, like it's not something that I had planned to do. I think as a young kid, if you ask my mom and dad, I was always doing some type of broadcasting, even as I had imaginary games in the living room, and so it's always been something that I've enjoyed. And then I think the other thing that plays a part in it is everybody knows my dad was really into video. And during that time, a lot of times the video, if there was sound, it would be the radio call for the home team. And so I got to hear all these different voices. I didn't know names at the time, but I got to hear all of these different cadences and voices. And it really taught me a lot about broadcasting before I was actually even knowing what it was.
Getting back to basketball for a minute, your dad, in his prime, he could fly. He stole 56 bases in a season. He was a great defensive outfielder. For those who wondered how quick Tony Gwynn was, you must have seen him move really quickly on a basketball court, right?
Yeah, no, my dad, I think that was what he was. I don't know that my dad would have called himself fast. He would have said he was quick.
Right.
And on the basketball court, that is a weapon. It's a great weapon. And he had vision, which was what made him a great passer. And he was a true point guard. I mean, they didn't have the type of guards that they have now where, it's kind of a combo guard where you're scoring, you're shooting, you're passing, you're doing a little bit of everything. He was a point guard in its truest form. And he still holds the assist record here at San Diego State.
Right, Jeff, let's see if you remember, Jeff, the stories I told you about Tony Gwynn and video long before video became popular. Explain.
It's just unbelievable to think. And there's no denying your dad's ability as an athlete. No doubt about it. But his mind is unbelievable. The recall, the ability to study the tape. Dad, you've talked about this ad nauseum, and one of my favorite pieces, and we won't get emotional here, but is when your father passed away, my dad did a piece on your dad, and it was so beautifully explained, not only his physical ability, but the mental ability. You played the game, Tony. You know how draining it is. So to have that mental acuity is just unbelievable.
That I think that might have been his strongest attribute. All of that recall, the ability to see it and then take it into the game or take it into practice and then, master it so that you can take it to the game. That was something I always marveled at with my father, being able to recall an exact at bat, every pitch, what he was thinking, what he thought the pitcher was thinking. I think that's what made him ultimately, as he got older and what didn't have the same athleticism, was his brain. He just he knew what the pitcher was trying to do to him. And because he was almost playing defense in some ways, right? It was really hard to get him out and because of that.
Right. Tony, your dad told me once that he had all these VHS tapes that he would take in a giant locker with him on the road. And your mom used to videotape some things while he was on the road. He'd come home, put these tapes in a big giant locker and take them on the road and then set them up by himself in the visiting clubhouse to watch the guy they were facing that night. You know all of these stories, correct?
Yeah, I recall Cincinnati was a place in particular that stood out to me because the TVs were kind of in the middle of the locker room, and there was maybe four of them, and so he'd have to pick one, and he'd have a cord running from the TV down to his little mini television that he record with the tape, and he would record the whole game. And so at that time, it's not the same as it is now, where these guys, they get it cut, the exact pitch, all of that is kind of uploaded for him. He had to take that VHS tape. He also had a what they called a video 8 tape, which was a smaller version of that. So he would take that VHS tape home. We'd go back to the hotel. First thing he'd do was he'd take that VHS tape and kind of connect it with the video 8 recorder, and he'd cut the VHS tapes to just his at-bats. And then he'd take that tape and take just his at-bats and cut it down to just his hits. And then he'd take that particular tape, and now he'd be able to put it on, all right, these are my at-bats against this particular pitcher. And so it was a routine for him. He'd set that tape up, and it was like on a nightly basis. He'd come home, he'd cut them, put them on. And so, when you're that meticulous, you can imagine that his recall on all of that stuff was pretty sharp.
Yeah, and I think something that's so beautiful and so crazy is you were born the same year as your dad's rookie year. I believe it was your October, right, of 82,
Yep.
and he would have started his career earlier that year. So not only does he have this physical acuity, this mental acuity, he's now got a baby at home, and he's dealing with raising kids and doing all that. It's so beautiful to think that his 20-year career ending in 2001, at the All-Star game that year, you're 19 years old. Like, the comparison of his career and your life is just, it's so perfect, right?
It is. It's what allowed me to be able to be a part of it and to see it and to remember it. Like, all those memories are so fresh for me. I mean, probably starting in 1989, I still remember different parts of the season, different places I got to visit, going to Candlestick or going to the vet when I was younger. Happened because I was born in the time that I was born. I got to experience. And I think the coolest part is I got to experience the time where it was not just a San Diego thing in terms of how people viewed my father. By the time I was of age and could really take it all in, was right at the same time that my dad started to reach a national kind of stage. And so to get to see him, live out that part of his dream was awesome.
And Tony, you got your first major league hit 24 years to the day after your dad got his first major league hit. How do you explain that?
You can't. You can't. Just like you can't explain my dad getting hit 2,000 and 3,000 on his mom's birthday. We have so many of those different type of connecting things that are really tough to explain. But nonetheless, it makes it that much more special. I mean, 24 years to the day, both doubles in our first at bat. We've gotten to share a lot of things besides our name.
That's so cool. Jeff, when Tony Gwynn Sr. got his first hit, a double off of Sid Manji, he told me the story that Pete Rose, the first baseman, is trailing on the play, and Tony's now got his first major league hit. And Pete Rose says to your dad, Tony, says, "Hey, kid, don't pass me on the first night here." That's what Pete Rose said to Tony Gwynn, knowing this kid was built to get a ton of hits. And well over 3,000 hits later, he was done. Pete Rose made that comment to your dad. No surprise, right, Tony?
No, not surprised at all. I mean, I think, I mean, my dad admired Pete as a hitter. I mean, I think he got over 4,000 hits. It's a guy that you pay attention to. And so, you know, they would see each other at you know, when they used to have card shows back in the day, they would see each other at those, and it would always be pretty friendly between the two. But yeah, I mean, that was I guess that was the start of what was going to be a brilliant career for my dad.
Right.
Yeah, Tony, we've had so many great guests who come on and talk about who maybe had dads who were in the game. Aaron Boone, to name a few. Ryan Ripken was on with us with his dad, actually, and yeah, Jerry Hairston Jr. And I love asking the question of what was one of those moments that you were in the clubhouse or you were in, you know, the dugout where you were like, oh my goodness, this person just walked by me and shook my hand, and you were 6, 7, 8 years old. You mentioned the 89 season. Was there a moment for you were like, oh, I can't believe I get to be here?
You know what? Interestingly enough, it never really came from my dad's teammates, even though, I mean, Trevor Hoffman's a Hall of Famer. Ricky Henderson was a Hall of Famer. Those guys all felt like more like family. So it wasn't like a you know, man, I can't believe I'm here type moment. Those usually came when I met someone who was an opponent. Ken Griffey Jr. comes to mind. I remember the first time I met him. I was probably 15 or 16 at the time. I remember meeting Barry for the first time when I was even younger than that. Like, those are the first moments where it's like, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe I'm here. And those usually came when I got to attend an all-star game or something and be in those locker rooms when you're seeing these guys that you don't see on an everyday basis, that they come to town and, you know, everybody's talking about that particular player. Mike Piazza is another one that was really cool. The Bagwell and Biggio were two that I saw often at those all-star games, and always enjoyed getting to hang around, and probably had those feelings, that type of feeling more in those settings.
Tony, when you were 15 or 16, as you said, what was it like having a great hitter, one of the greatest hitters ever, and a guy who understood the art of hitting as well as anyone that I have ever met? What was it like having that guy as your hitting coach?
Interestingly enough, he really wasn't my hitting coach at 15 or at 16. Like, I wasn't playing baseball seriously, or at least in my mind, I wasn't taking it as serious at that point. And my dad really took a hands-off approach when it came to baseball. Basketball, he was much more hands-on. He was much more vocal about things he didn't like. I had a bad game or something like that. But in baseball, he didn't say a word. Like, A, he didn't get to see me play all that much because the seasons kind of exist during the same time. But B, I think he recognized early that, you know, we share the same name. He's playing the same sport. He doesn't need expectation on him that the rest of the world is going to put on him just based off his name alone and him playing the same sport. And so he was really hands off until I was probably after my junior season in high school. And so I didn't really have him as a hitting coach. I kind of just was able to watch and then just go figure it out. Now, if I asked him something, of course he would give me whatever he had at that point. But he really took a hands-off approach until after that junior season, and I actually came to him and was like, "What do you got?"
But if you made a cross-court pass in a game that got intercepted and went down for a layup on what was that like?
Nothing irritated my dad more than turnovers. I remember coming home and after one of our rivals, Mount Carmel. I had 10 turnovers. That was a really poor game. And he just came into that. I beat him home, and he came in maybe 15, 20 minutes later, and he just had this befuddled look on me. He wasn't mad, but you could tell he was bothered by the turnovers. And eventually, I don't know what possessed him to say it, but he just turned to me and said, "Hey, are you having girl problems or something? Like, why? I don't understand how it's possible to turn a ball over 10 times. And I didn't have nothing for it. It was just a bad game that day. And I just took it on the chin. I didn't say nothing. I just kind of, I heard it, and I just kind of shook my head, went back to the room. But he was definitely bothered by it.
But Tony, you had a double-double that day, didn't you? 10 points, 10 turnovers, right?
Yeah. I don't know if he was buying that at the time. We lost the game. I certainly contributed to that loss, and he let me know about it.
Tony, let's talk about your fatherhood. I mean, the greatest thing that happened to me in my life was becoming a dad 2 years ago, and having such a great dad yourself and me as well as an example to usher us into fatherhood. You've got the four, right? The three girls, and then you finally got you got the third there. Is he 10 yet?
He just turned 10.
Wow.
Just turned 10 last week.
How is it? Is he playing baseball? Is he playing basketball? Are you coaching? How is that relationship for you now? And with your girls, of course, who are older.
Yes. Well, Trey, he plays he loves baseball. He does not like basketball, and that's a sore spot for me. He loves soccer. He loves football, and so as long as he's playing multiple sports, it doesn't have to be basketball. I'm completely fine with it. I just don't want him settling in on baseball alone right now at the young age of 10. And so he is a avid Padre fan. He gets very frustrated when they aren't winning. He wears it on his shoulder and his face, but he loves the game. And so he's already moving in the right direction in terms of if he wants to pursue it, you have to love it. This game will eat you up if you don't love it. And so I'm just going to let him be. I'm not going to put any pressure on him. I'm going to try to take the same approach my dad took.
Right. Does he hit left-handed or right-handed?
He hits right-handed. He had asked me about switch hitting, but I don't think he has the patience. He flipped over there for about 10 pitches and didn't like the results, and then hopped right back over to the right side. So I'm open to it if he wants to. But yeah, all the kids. I mean, my oldest is set. Michaela's she's committed to Grand Canyon University to play soccer there. So she'll be headed there.
That's where my wife went, Tony, not to interrupt. My wife is at GCU. Go Lopes. Lopes up, baby.
Hey, go Lopes. Lopes up. That's right.
We love GCU. Great student life there. They love their teams there. I mean, and you said she's going to play there.
She's going to play there. That I've heard all of those same things. She was, I think, on the fence when we first went down there, and she got on that campus, and I think her whole idea changed from that point on. So she's locked in there. My middle daughter, Jordan, is just starting her kind of soccer recruitment right now. We'll see how that goes. My youngest daughter, unfortunately, just tore her ACL. And so she's 10 weeks into post-surgery. She's 10 weeks post-surgery, but she's moving along well.
Tony, did you play soccer growing up?
I did not. My wife did, though.
Right.
My wife was pretty good, and so that's where they get any coordination for soccer is from my wife, because I certainly don't have any.
So Tony, and dad to dad here, I'll provide you this warning. When my wife and I first met, I went to Syracuse, upstate New York, freezing cold 11 months out of the year, right? She goes to GCU. She tells me, I was like, what was campus life like? And she said, well, we would wear our bikinis underneath our clothes, and then we would go to class, and we would walk 10 steps, and we're in a pool right after class, and put our books on the side of the pool. And I said, I spent 4 years in Syracuse, New York. I didn't even see a pool in 4 years, let alone step into one after class.
I spent one season in Syracuse, and so I know you didn't see a pool anywhere, for that matter. But nonetheless, yeah, two completely different experiences in terms of the weather, especially.
Right.
So when you are at one of your son's baseball games or one of your girls' soccer games, who is the more vocal of the two, mom or dad? Who is the one, if something goes on, you need to say something? Are you kind of laid back and hanging, or is mom the one yelling? How does that work?
It's definitely mom. I'm definitely the one that's hanging back. I occasionally will open my mouth, but for the most part, I'm the chill one on the sideline. My wife's probably gonna be upset with me for saying that, but it's the truth. I'm not the one.
Tony, you mentioned your dad's Hall of Fame induction. I was there, of course, and I remember vividly the morning that your dad was going into the Hall of Fame to make his speech. You came down to the lobby, and I saw you in the lobby. Do you remember the story that you told me? And if you don't, I'll tell the story for you. Your dad, I'll give you a clue, made a request of you to go down to the lobby at 9 o'clock in the morning on the morning he was being inducted. I'll tell the story if that's okay.
Yeah, you tell the story. I don't
All right.
remember.
You told me, I said, how's your dad doing? And you said, well, he's nervous. He sent me down here to get a beer at 9 o'clock in the morning. And
Oh, that's right.
and then Jeff, Tony Gwynn Jr. paused and said, my dad doesn't drink. So he was going to start drinking on the day he was inducted into the Hall of Fame. Tony, have I got that right?
You got it right. Now, my dad would have an occasional Coors Light. I'm talking like once every like 3 or 4 months. Like he'd have like a Coors Light. But never, it was always at the end of the night. And after a game, he might have a cold one, right? So the fact that he was asking for a beer at 9, I already knew he was nervous the night before because he was up, trying to figure out what he was going to say. And I can imagine that probably, created some anxiety for him. But he was definitely nervous. He definitely sent me down. That you reminded me of it, Tim. He definitely sent me down to find him a beer. I don't know that he ever drank it, but certainly he was nervous. He was really, really nervous. But then when you watched him do the speech,
he killed it.
You would have never known. You would have never known.
He crushed it. Typical of Tony Gwynn. I always find that interesting, Tony, that he could get a hit, as could you, in front of 50,000 people, and you don't even hear the crowd around you. And yet you got to go stand up in front of people and speak, and he's a nervous wreck. Is that a baseball thing? Is that an athlete thing?
I think that is. I just think when you're playing a game that you enjoy so much, you're not thinking about the outer. That stuff comes later. Like you've been playing baseball your whole life. The crowd stuff starts happening the further you go up, but the game is still the same. And in terms of speaking in front of people, I mean, that's just a completely new experience. I feel the same way. I've gotten better over time. I obviously happen to be a broadcaster now, and those are things you got to kind of have to do from time to time. But I think that's a natural kind of feel, especially if that's not something you've done a lot of.
Tony, 2007 was that induction ceremony. Was your wife pregnant? I'm trying to do the math here.
Yes. She was very pregnant. She was very pregnant, and it was 1,000,000 degrees out. Place. It was blazing. We talk about that so often as we look back at the footage. I mean, I had this big baggy suit on. It had to be close to. It felt like it was 100 degrees. I don't know if it was actually. The humidity made it feel like it was 100 degrees. My wife is really pregnant at that point. This is in August, so she was doing like another 2 months at that point. And so it was definitely hot, but it was definitely worth it at the same time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, trust me. I mean, and I remember vividly that year I was with my dad. We took that trip solo. Usually my mom and my sister would come with us. That was the first year I got to go alone with my dad. And I will never forget. I think I was like 13 years old. And I remember looking back and people were at the trees.
It was a sea of people.
It was unbelievable, Tony. And we know, obviously, Cal Ripken Jr., Tony Gwynn, like them alone might send people to the trees because of their storied careers with one team, and just their personalities were so magnetic and they were so special to our game. To put them together, gosh,
it was like the perfect pairing. I mean, both in different leagues. Both had, similar fan base and fanfare. and both, really kind of captured the cities that they were in. And so, it was like almost both cities ended up coming to Cooperstown. I have the same visual, Jeff, that I remember sitting where our family was and like standing up and turning back, and it was just you couldn't see the end point of where it stopped from where I was sitting at least. And that was my first experience. The Brewers were kind enough to let me leave and head down to Cooperstown. I mean, I didn't get to stay long. I didn't get to enjoy Cooperstown. I was there for the night, or for that night, and then I left the very next day. And so it was a really, really cool experience, especially for your first one.
Yeah, that was my favorite induction, and at least at the time, it may still be, that was the most populated induction in the history of the Hall of Fame, for exactly what you said. And I interviewed your dad and Cal Ripken Jr. afterwards, and we had a priceless argument. It wasn't an argument, because in one of the All-Star games, I should remember which one, your dad scored the winning run, and Cal Ripken made
94.
the throw to the plate, and they were yelling at each other. One said, "You're out." The other said, "No, I was safe." Do you remember that, Tony?
Yeah, he was safe.
Yeah.
He got under the tag of punch. The throw beat him, but remember that was old AstroTurf, so the ball didn't it bounced and it didn't stay down like it would on grass. It kind of popped up. So I think it was Putch who ended up being at home plate. He had to kind of come up to catch it, and as he comes up, my dad's leg kind of splits his legs, and it gets to the plate before. It was a good call. It was a good throw. It should have been an out, but because of the turf, it ended up bouncing a little high.
Yeah, one of the most iconic inductions, Cal and Tony. I would say the only one that would rival that, 2022, when David Ortiz went in with Tim Kirkshin. What a great pairing.
Yeah.
Great pairing.
Right.
Great pairing. So much in common.
Right. Tony,
so much in common.
The largest disparity in size in one year of, because
that also might be true.
Poppy had at least 200 on me, I think. Go ahead,
So,
Jeff.
Tony, I do have one question about your playing days. And my dad and I, if we've said it once in the last 2 years we've done this podcast, we've said it a million times. The pitching is just unreal right now. The ability for multiple guys to be throwing over 100 all the time. When you look back at your playing career, because batters have a lot of respect for pitchers, and your dad is one of them, right? Would always be researching the tape. Who was one guy when you would go up against, you would say, okay, I'm going to war right now because this guy is the fiercest competitor you got to face as a batter to a pitcher?
In terms of fierceness, I mean, it was always that way when you face Max. You could tell that he was definitely intense. Cliff Lee was another one for me that I didn't have a lot of fun facing at all. And I've got a couple hits on him in his Mariners time, but as a Philly, it was god awful. I did not enjoy him at all. And I would later become his teammate, and I enjoyed him much more as a teammate than I did as an opponent, for sure.
Right.
Did you ever tell him that?
Yes, I told him that. Absolutely, I told him that. It was. I think it might have been maybe 2 years later I became his teammate, and he just. There was a particular game as a Dodger for me that made me think that I didn't know how to hit at all. It was a 3-bat at bat kind of day that just as bad as it possibly could go, it went. And it shook me for a day. Definitely got to me for a little bit. I had to kind of reevaluate. I eventually got back going again, but that one particular day put him in my mind for a long time. As you can see, I'm still talking about it.
Tony, Luis Ariz of the Padres reminds some people of your dad. What is it like calling games in which Luis Ariz plays for the Padres and people compare him to Tony Gwynn?
I think it's great, man. I enjoy watching Luis hit. And I think sometimes I have to kind of check myself because he is the closest thing in today's game to what my dad was. Sometimes my own expectations get in the way. And I think that's unfair to Luis because I do see him as the closest thing to my dad. I don't think that he is my dad, but I think there are a lot of characteristics in terms of how he swings the bat and his approach at the plate that remind me of my dad. And so, of course, I'm a little biased towards Luis because of that. I enjoy it, especially when he gets hot. I don't think there's anything funner than watching Luis at the dish. Like I really don't. It's so. Last year was such an experience watching him play on an everyday basis because San Diego hasn't really had anybody like that, since my dad. And so to get to watch him on a daily basis, his respect for the game, his energy level, it's all contagious. And so, I'm partial to Luis because of that, because he reminds me. He's the closest thing we have to my dad in today's game.
And with all due respect to Luis, he didn't run like your dad, and he didn't play defense like your dad. Let's be clear.
No,
as far as a hitter goes, there are similarities, but that's about it. Tony, I'll finish with this. There's a Cal Ripken wood bat league right around the corner from us, and a couple of years ago, there were some kids. Well, 10 years ago, there were some kids from San Diego State who were playing in the wood bat summer league here in Bethesda, Maryland. And I asked him about, playing for Tony Gwynn. So they both looked at me and told the story. Your dad was sick at the time. Your dad had gotten heavy, and he was not Tony Gwynn anymore. And yet he was really upset with the way the team was hitting. And he said, I just want to make sure you can see this, Tony. He said, God damn it, let me show you what to do here. And he went up to the plate and hit line drive after line drive all over the field just to show everybody this is what you can do if you have great hands and you know what you're doing and you can see the ball. Does this sound like your dad?
I can't tell you that he had done things like that even when I was in school. I remember my last year, my junior season, we had gotten to like conference tournament time, and we had one of those kind of like breaks where there was a couple days off, and he was same deal. He was irritated with how we were swinging the bat, and so I remember being on second base when he kind of snapped, and he grabbed the bat. I'll never forget it. A kid by the name of Drew Jensen was left-hander, was pitching, and so he got in the box. And he took the first pitch, and he was in the box, out of hand, calling ball or strike, right? So he was already showing off there, and then maybe 2 or 3 pitches later, the ball comes out of Drew's hands, and it's probably mid-flight, and he yells, "Watch out!" And he takes the swing, and he hits a bullet right back at Drew's head. And it was just kind of a reminder of like, what he was capable of doing when he was, and even at this point, he's 2 years removed from playing. It's still relatively fresh for him. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if that was the case, because he definitely did it when I was in school.
Last thing for me, Tony, tell us about the shirt you're wearing. That is absolutely priceless and beautiful.
Baseballism did a series of kind of shirts and hats and hoodies with my dad last year around this time, and this was one of them. This is his silhouette in the Padre navy and orange that he probably wore most during the course of his career. I know they're in the process of doing a second iteration of it, and looking forward to that. But yeah, this is a shirt that I think many people enjoy. There's a hat that kind of goes with it.
Absolutely.
That's amazing. Well, Tony, thank you for going down memory lane, talking about your dad, talking about your great playing career, talking about your wife yelling on the sidelines. We'll make sure she doesn't see this interview. Do you have any questions for me about my dad? No, I'm just kidding. Tony.
Hey, listen, like I said when we started, the tree doesn't fall, or the apple doesn't fall from the tree, and the voice doesn't either.
Yeah.
It's not helping that we're both wearing white shirts too, Dad. We couldn't look more like each other.
Last story, Tony. Jeffrey used to work with a woman in Las Vegas, and she spent like 12 straight hours with him, and his voice after 12 straight hours can just drive you crazy. Okay, so she finally finishes 12 straight hours with my son, and then she goes home, gets a glass of wine, and turns on the TV, and who's on SportsCenter? Me. And she went, "Oh my God, I thought I had escaped the horrible Kirkchin voice, and there I was."
Yeah, no sports for her for the rest of the night. Did it sound like
she switched immediately to Netflix right after that. She said, "Forget ESPN."
And she switched to hard liquor right after that too, instead of a glass of wine.
She needed a drink, huh?
Tony, thank you so much for joining us. We had the best time. Hopefully, I'll see you and the Padres down the line. Hopefully, I'll see you in October. Can't wait.
Sam, Jeff, thank you very much for having me. It's been a pleasure.